Hello, everyone, I'm Elena, and I am absolutely thrilled that you've chosen to spend your time with me today for what will be a deep and rewarding dive into the world of English idioms. In this special extended lesson, we are going to explore the beautiful, creative, and sometimes confusing world of idiomatic expressions. Think of idioms as the secret code of native speakers. They are the colorful threads that weave personality, humor, and nuance into the fabric of everyday conversation. Mastering them is one of the most powerful steps you can take to move from sounding like a student to sounding like a native speaker. You see, the challenge with idioms is that their meaning is not literal. When an English speaker says they need to hit the books, they don't intend to physically strike their textbooks. They mean they need to study hard. This is why you can't always translate them word for word. But don't worry, the goal of this lesson is to demystify these phrases for you. We are going to explore 60 of the most essential idioms you need for work, school, and social life. I will break them down into 12 thematic groups to make them easier to learn and remember. For each idiom, I'll give you a simple definition, multiple real-life examples so you can see how it's used in different contexts, and I'll even share some interesting origins where they make the phrase more memorable. Most importantly, this is an interactive lesson. I want you to feel like you're in a comfortable one-on-one coaching session with me. I will guide you through plenty of speaking practice, asking you to repeat sentences and use the idioms in short stories. The aim is not just for you to passively listen, but to actively participate, training your mouth and your mind to use these phrases confidently and automatically. So find a comfortable spot, take a deep breath, and get ready to unlock a whole new level of English fluency. Let's begin. This next group of idioms appears constantly in conversations. They help make interactions more dynamic and expressive. Let's start with a fun one. Speak of the devil. You say this when the person you have just been talking about suddenly appears. For example, I was just telling Sarah about your new car. Oh, speak of the devil. Here he comes now. Repeat that with me. Speak of the devil. Here he comes now. It's a very common and friendly expression. Next is ring a bell. If something rings a bell, it sounds familiar, but you can't remember the exact details. For instance, the name John Smith rings a bell, but I can't picture his face. Repeat that sentence. The name rings a bell, but I can't picture his face. Another example. The title of that movie doesn't ring a bell. Are you sure I've seen it? Try that one now. Here is an idiom for when you want to be more direct. Cut to the chase. This means to get to the most important point without wasting time on details. For example, I don't have much time, so please cut to the chase. What is the problem? Repeat that with me. Please cut to the chase. It's common in business settings. Let's cut to the chase. Will this project be profitable or not? Say that one now. What happens when you are too late for something? You miss the boat. This means you have missed an opportunity and now it's too late. For example, the tickets for the concert sold out in an hour. I guess I missed the boat. Repeat that with disappointment. I guess I missed the boat. Another one. He wanted to apply for the scholarship, but he submitted his application late and missed the boat. Practice that sentence. Our final idiom here is bite off more than you can chew. This means to take on a task or a responsibility that is too big or difficult for you to handle. For example, I agreed to manage 3 big projects at once, but I think I've bitten off more than I can chew. Repeat that with me. I've bitten off more than I can chew. Another one. Starting a full-time job while studying for your PhD sounds like biting off more than you can chew. Try that one now. Time for our second practice story. Listen to this scenario. During our team meeting, my manager started with a long introduction. Finally, my colleague said, "Can we cut to the chase?" We discussed hiring a new consultant. Someone mentioned the name David Chen. I said, "That name does ring a bell." Just then, David himself walked past the office door. My manager laughed and said, "Speak of the devil." Later, my friend told me he wanted to take on the new project alone. I warned him not to bite off more than he can chew. He was supposed to apply last week but forgot, so he missed the boat on that opportunity. Now, slowly repeat that story. Then create your own. Maybe it's a story about a meeting, a missed opportunity, or a friend taking on a big challenge. Let's continue with idioms that are incredibly useful in everyday social situations and conversations. These will help you express understanding and share information. Our first one is hit the nail on the head. This wonderful idiom means that you have described a situation, problem, or idea with perfect accuracy. You've identified the exact truth. Imagine your friend is struggling with a project and you suggest they are trying to do too much at once. They might reply, "You've hit the nail on the head. That's exactly my problem." Let's practice that reply. Repeat after me. You've hit the nail on the head. Here it is in a longer sentence. The consultant's report hit the nail on the head regarding our company's biggest challenges. Say that one with me. Now for an idiom about secrets. Let the cat out of the bag. This means to accidentally reveal a secret that was supposed to be kept hidden. The origin might come from a time when merchants would trick customers by putting a cat in a bag instead of a piglet. If the cat was let out, the secret was revealed. For example, we were planning a surprise party for Sarah, but her brother let the cat out of the bag. Go ahead and repeat that sentence. Here's another. I can't believe you let the cat out of the bag about my new job. I wasn't ready to tell everyone. Practice saying that one. A similar idiom, also about revealing information, is spill the beans. It means to tell people secret information, often without intending to be malicious. It's a bit more informal. You might hear a friend say, "Okay, spill the beans." What happened at the meeting after I left? Repeat that curious question with me. Okay, spill the beans. Here is another example. The little boy was so excited that he spilled the beans about the birthday gift his dad had bought. Try saying that sentence now. Our final idiom in this section is get a word in edgewise. This is for those frustrating situations when someone is talking so much that you cannot find an opportunity to speak. For example, my aunt talks so fast that it's impossible to get a word in edgewise during our phone calls. Now you try it. It's impossible to get a word in edgewise. Here's another one. The debate was so intense, neither candidate could get a word in edgewise while the other was speaking. Repeat that with me. Note, the idiom break the ice was removed from this section to accommodate the new sections, but it is a very useful idiom, meaning to start a conversation. Now let's do our first speaking exercise to practice these idioms together. Imagine you are telling a friend about a recent team meeting. Listen closely. We were discussing why sales were down, and my quiet colleague Maria finally managed to get a word in edgewise. She suggested our marketing was the issue, and the CEO told her she hit the nail on the head. Then the manager accidentally let the cat out of the bag about a new bonus system. He immediately asked us not to spill the beans before the official announcement. Now repeat that entire paragraph slowly with me. Take your time with each idiom. Once you're comfortable, try to create your own short story. Perhaps it's about a family gathering or a dinner with friends. Next, let's explore some idioms that help us describe our feelings in a more vivid and natural way. English speakers use these all the time to talk about happiness, sadness, illness, and fear. Let's start with a happy one. On cloud nine. If you are on cloud nine, you are extremely happy, euphoric, and full of joy. For example, when she found out she had won the scholarship, she was on cloud nine for the rest of the day. Now repeat that sentence with a happy tone in your voice. She was on cloud nine for the rest of the day. Here is another one. They've been on cloud nine ever since they got engaged. Try saying that one. Now for the opposite. If you are feeling slightly ill or not in your best physical state, you can say you feel under the weather. It's a gentle and common way to say you're not well, without being too specific. For instance, I think I'll stay home tonight. I'm feeling a bit under the weather. Repeat that with me. I'm feeling a bit under the weather. It is more polite than just saying, I'm sick. Another example. He missed school for 2 days because he was feeling under the weather. Say that sentence now. What about nervousness? For that, we have get cold feet. This means to suddenly become too scared or nervous to do something you had planned. It's often used for big life events. For example, the groom got cold feet on the morning of his wedding, but his best friend calmed him down. Now you say it. The groom got cold feet on the morning of his wedding. Here is another common use. I was going to perform my song at the open mic night, but I got cold feet and didn't go on stage. Repeat that sentence. Another fantastic idiom is a chip on your shoulder. If someone has a chip on their shoulder, they have an angry or bitter attitude because they feel they have been treated unfairly in the past. It's like they are carrying around an old grudge. For example, he has had a chip on his shoulder ever since he was passed over for the promotion. Repeat that with me. He has had a chip on his shoulder. Here's another one. She speaks with a chip on her shoulder, always trying to prove she's better than everyone else because of her difficult childhood. Try that sentence now. Let's learn one more for this section. Face the music. This means to accept responsibility and criticism for something bad you have done. It's about dealing with the consequences of your actions. For example, after he was caught cheating on the exam, he had to go home and face the music. Say that sentence with me. He had to go home and face the music. Another example. The company's CEO had to face the music when the press discovered the scandal. Repeat that one now. It's time for our second speaking practice. Let's weave these emotional idioms into a story. Listen to this. My friend was on cloud nine last month when he got his dream job. But his first big presentation was yesterday, and he told me he almost got cold feet. His manager, who seems to have a chip on his shoulder, can be very intimidating. To make matters worse, my friend was feeling under the weather all day, but he knew he couldn't run away from it, so he took a deep breath and decided to face the music. In the end, he did a great job. Now repeat that entire story slowly after me. Feel the emotions in the phrases. Then it's your turn to be creative. Tell a story about a challenge you or someone you know faced. This next group of idioms is perfect for professional environments, academic settings, or any situation where you are working towards a goal. First, let's look at go the extra mile. This means to make a special effort or to do more than is necessary or expected of you. It shows great dedication. For instance, Our tour guide really went the extra mile to make our trip unforgettable. Repeat that with a grateful tone. Our tour guide really went the extra mile. Here is a work example. If you want to get promoted, you have to be willing to go the extra mile for the team. Practice saying that one. The opposite of this is to cut corners. This means to do something in the easiest, cheapest, or fastest way, often by sacrificing quality or ignoring the rules. It usually has a negative meaning. For example, the construction company cut corners on materials, and now the building has serious problems. Say that sentence with me. The construction company cut corners on materials. Another example. Never cut corners when it comes to safety procedures. Repeat that important piece of advice. What happens when a plan fails completely? You have to go back to the drawing board. This means you have to start over again from the beginning because your previous attempt was unsuccessful. For example, our first proposal was rejected by the client, so it's back to the drawing board for us. Repeat that phrase. It's back to the drawing board for us. Another one. The experiment failed to produce any results, so the scientists went back to the drawing board. Try saying that one now. Here is a great one for efficiency. Kill two birds with one stone. This means to achieve two separate goals with a single action. It's all about smart planning. For instance, I listen to English news podcasts while I'm jogging in the morning to kill two birds with one stone. Let's practice that. I kill two birds with one stone. Here is another example. He picked up the groceries on his way home from work to kill two birds with one stone. Say that sentence now. Finally, if something is very easy, you can say it's a piece of cake. For example, I was worried about the math test, but it turned out to be a piece of cake. Repeat that with a sense of relief. It turned out to be a piece of cake. Be careful, though, this is very informal. Here's another. For a professional mechanic, changing a tire is a piece of cake. Repeat that one with me. Let's move to our practice story for this section. Listen carefully. For our final university project, my group decided we would not cut corners. We wanted to go the extra mile to get the best grade. Our first idea was a complete failure, so we had to go back to the drawing board. I suggested we conduct our research interviews while visiting the local museum so we could kill two birds with one stone and get some cultural inspiration. In the end, our hard work paid off. The presentation was a piece of cake because we were so well prepared. Now repeat that story slowly with me. Then it's your turn. Tell a story about a project you worked on. Many English idioms use parts of the body, but their meanings are figurative. Learning these will make your English sound very authentic. Let's start with a positive one. Break a leg. This is a strange but very common way to say good luck to someone, especially before a performance like a play, a concert, or a presentation. For example, just before I went on stage, my friend texted me, "Break a leg." Repeat that with an encouraging voice. Break a leg. You can also say, "I know you're nervous about your interview, but you'll do great." Break a leg. Say that one now. Next is all ears. If you are all ears, it means you are listening very eagerly and with your full attention. For instance, when he said he had some exciting news, I was all ears. Repeat that with me. I was all ears. Another example. Tell me about your vacation. I'm all ears. Practice saying that. Now for a more complex one. See eye to eye. It means to agree with someone or share their opinion. It's most often used in the negative to describe a disagreement. For example, My parents and I don't always see eye to eye on politics, but we respect each other. Repeat that sentence. We don't always see eye to eye on politics. Here it is in a positive business context. Luckily, the entire team sees eye to eye on the project's main goal. Say that one now. Here's another useful one. Keep an eye on. This means to watch or take care of something or someone. For example, could you please keep an eye on my suitcase for a minute while I go to the restroom? Repeat that polite request. Could you please keep an eye on my suitcase? It can also mean to monitor a situation. The doctor told him to keep an eye on his blood pressure. Practice that one. Finally, let's learn twist someone's arm. If you twist someone's arm, you persuade or convince them to do something that they were initially reluctant to do. It's usually used in a light-hearted, informal way. For example, I didn't want to go to the party, but my friends twisted my arm. Say that with me. My friends twisted my arm. Another one. She said she was too busy for dessert, but I twisted her arm and she had a piece of cake. Try saying that one. Let's practice these body part idioms with a story. Listen to this conversation. My sister is auditioning for a play tomorrow. I told her to break a leg. She's been practicing her lines with my dad, though they don't always see eye to eye on how to interpret the character. I promised her I'd be there. I asked my friend, "Can you keep an eye on my dog tomorrow evening?" At first he said he was busy, but I twisted his arm by offering to buy him dinner. When I told my sister I'd be in the audience, she was all ears, wanting to know exactly where I'd be sitting. Now repeat that story slowly. Then create your own story about planning an event or convincing a friend to do something. Animal idioms are some of the most fun and memorable in English. They create strong visual images that help you remember their meanings. Let's start with the elephant in the room. This refers to a big, obvious problem or controversial issue that everyone is aware of, but no one wants to talk about because it is uncomfortable. For example, we sat through the whole meeting pretending everything was fine, but the elephant in the room was the fact that the company was losing money. Repeat that sentence. The elephant in the room was the fact that the company was losing money. Here's another. He finally addressed the elephant in the room and asked why no one had been paid yet. Say that one now. Next is hold your horses. This is a friendly, informal way to tell someone to slow down, wait, and not be so impatient. For example, I know you're excited to start the trip, but hold your horses. We need to check the map first. Repeat that with a calm voice. Hold your horses. Another one. Hold your horses, son. Don't spend all your money on the first day of your vacation. Practice that piece of advice. Here is a wise one. Let sleeping dogs lie. This means you should not talk about a bad situation from the past that people have forgotten about, because it might cause new trouble if you bring it up again. For example, I wanted to ask my boss about his mistake from last year, but I decided it was better to let sleeping dogs lie. Say that sentence with me. I decided it was better to let sleeping dogs lie. Another one. They had a big argument years ago, but they are friends now. It's best to let sleeping dogs lie. Repeat that one. What if you get information from a secret source? You can say a little bird told me. This is a playful way of saying that you know something, but you won't reveal who your source is. For example, how did I know it was your birthday? Oh, a little bird told me. Repeat that mysterious phrase. A little bird told me. Another one. A little bird told me that you might be moving to London next year. Is it true? Try that one now. Finally, let's learn when pigs fly. This is a humorous, sarcastic idiom used to say that something will never, ever happen. It's impossible. For example, do you think he will clean his room today? Yes, when pigs fly. Repeat that with a sarcastic tone. Yes, when pigs fly. Here it is in a full sentence. She said she'll pay me back the money she owes me when pigs fly. Say that one with me. Time for our animal-themed practice story. Listen to this workplace scenario. During the team meeting, no one wanted to talk about our recent project failure. The project was the big elephant in the room. My colleague started suggesting wild new ideas, and I had to tell him to hold your horses and think realistically. Our boss asked who leaked the news of the failure, and I just said, "A little bird told me." I thought about bringing up some old mistakes from the past, but I decided to let sleeping dogs lie. My boss then promised we'd all get a huge bonus if we fixed the problem in one day. I thought to myself, sure, when pigs fly. Now slowly repeat that story. Then try creating your own story using these animal idioms. Money is a part of our daily lives, so it's no surprise there are many idioms related to it. Let's learn some of the most common ones. First up, cost an arm and a leg. If something costs an arm and a leg, it is extremely expensive. For example, I'd love to buy that designer handbag, but it costs an arm and a leg. Repeat that with me. It costs an arm and a leg. Another one. Getting a taxi from the airport to the city center cost an arm and a leg. Say that sentence now. Next is a penny for your thoughts. This is a charming way to ask someone what they are thinking about, especially when they are quiet or look pensive. For example, you've been very quiet for the last 10 minutes. A penny for your thoughts? Repeat that gentle question. A penny for your thoughts? You could also say, he looked out the window with a distant expression, so I offered him a penny for my thoughts. Try that one. Here's a very practical one. Bread and butter. This refers to a person's main source of income or the primary activity of a business. For example, teaching English online is my bread and butter. Say that with me. Teaching English online is my bread and butter. For a company, you might say, while the firm does some consulting, their software sales are their real bread and butter. Repeat that one now. Let's learn on the house. If something at a restaurant, bar, or hotel is on the house, it is given to you for free by the establishment. For example, because it was my birthday, the restaurant gave me a dessert on the house. Repeat that happy sentence. The restaurant gave me a dessert on the house. Another one. We complained about the long wait, so the manager offered us a round of drinks on the house. Say that one now. Our final money idiom is burn a hole in your pocket. If money is burning a hole in your pocket, it means you have an urge to spend it as soon as you get it. For example, as soon as he gets his salary, it burns a hole in his pocket. Repeat that with me. It burns a hole in his pocket. Another one. That bonus I received is burning a hole in my pocket. I can't wait to go shopping. Try that one now. Let's do our speaking practice for this section. Listen to this story. My friend and I went to a new restaurant that looked very fancy. I was worried it would cost an arm and a leg. My friend was staring at the menu looking concerned, so I asked, "A penny for your thoughts?" He confessed that the money he just earned from his new job was burning a hole in his pocket. His job is in graphic design, which is his bread and butter. The meal was great, and because the service was slow, the manager gave us coffee on the house. Now, repeat that story slowly. Then imagine your own scenario about shopping, a vacation, or a conversation about jobs and money. Time is a precious resource, and English has many idioms to talk about it. These phrases will help you sound more natural when discussing schedules, deadlines, and opportunities. Let's begin with once in a blue moon. This means that something happens very rarely. A blue moon is the second full moon in a single calendar month, which is an infrequent event. For example, my sister lives in another country, so I only get to see her once in a blue moon. Repeat that with me. I only get to see her once in a blue moon. Another example. An opportunity this good comes around once in a blue moon. Say that one now. Next is beat the clock. This means to finish a task successfully just before the deadline or time limit expires. For example, she had to write the entire essay in one night, but she managed to beat the clock and submit it on time. Repeat that sentence. She managed to beat the clock. Here's another. The team worked furiously to beat the clock and launch the product before their competitor. Try saying that one. Here is another useful one. In the nick of time. This is very similar to beating the clock. It means you do something at the very last possible moment. For instance, the hero arrived with the antidote in the nick of time to save the day. Say that with me. He arrived in the nick of time. Another example. I thought I was going to miss my flight, but I got to the gate in the nick of time. Repeat that with a sense of relief. What if you're late? You can use better late than never. This is a proverb that means it's better to do something late than to not do it at all. For example, he finally paid me back the money he owed me. Well, better late than never. Repeat that phrase. Better late than never. You could also say, she submitted her application 2 days after the deadline, hoping the committee would think better late than never. Say that one now. Our last time idiom is call it a day. This means to decide to stop working on something either for the rest of the day or permanently. For example, we've been working for 10 hours straight. I think it's time to call it a day. Repeat that with me. Let's call it a day. Another one. After years of trying to make the business profitable, they decided to call it a day and close it down. Try that one now. Let's practice these time idioms. Listen to this story about a student's busy day. My biggest project of the year was due today. An opportunity to impress my professor like this comes once in a blue moon. I worked all night trying to beat the clock. I arrived on campus and ran to his office, getting there just in the nick of time. My professor said, "You're cutting it a bit close." And I just smiled and said, "Better late than never." After that stressful morning, I decided to call it a day and go home to relax. Now repeat that paragraph slowly. Then create your own story about a deadline. These idioms are perfect for conversations about learning, studying, and understanding new ideas. Let's start with one you might be doing right now. Hit the books. This simply means to study very hard. For example, I have a big exam on Monday, so I need to hit the books all weekend. Repeat that with determination. I need to hit the books. Another one. She's hitting the books because she wants to get into a top university. Practice saying that one. Next is learn the ropes. This means to learn the basics of how to do a job or perform a task. It comes from the age of sailing ships, where new sailors had to learn how to handle the ship's ropes. For example, it took me a few weeks to learn the ropes at my new job, but now I feel confident. Say that with me. It took me a few weeks to learn the ropes. Another example. We have a new intern starting today, so please help him learn the ropes. Repeat that one now. Here's a great one for teamwork. Two heads are better than one. This proverb means that it's easier to solve a problem with two people working on it than with one person working alone. For example, I'm stuck on this difficult puzzle. Can you help me? Two heads are better than one. Repeat that phrase. Two heads are better than one. Another one. The engineers decided to collaborate on the design, believing that two heads are better than one. Try saying that one. What if you don't understand something? You can say it's all Greek to me. This means that something is completely incomprehensible or unintelligible. For example, my friend was trying to explain computer programming, but it was all Greek to me. Say that with me. It was all Greek to me. Another one. I tried to read a legal document, but the language was all Greek to me. Repeat that one now. Finally, we have on the same page. If people are on the same page, they are in agreement or have a shared understanding of a situation. For instance, before we start the project, let's have a meeting to make sure everyone is on the same page. Repeat that practical sentence. Let's make sure everyone is on the same page. Another example. My husband and I are finally on the same page about where to go for our vacation. Say that one now. Let's practice with a story about a study group. Listen. My friend and I decided to hit the books together for our physics class. At first, the subject was all Greek to me, but he is helping me learn the ropes. We always work together because two heads are better than one. Before our study session, we make a plan to ensure we are on the same page about what topics to cover. Now, repeat that paragraph slowly. Then think about a time you had to learn something new. Every conversation can involve agreement or disagreement. These idioms will help you express these situations more naturally. Let's start with a neutral one. Sit on the fence. If you are sitting on the fence, you are refusing to take sides in an argument or make a decision between two options. For example, you can't sit on the fence any longer. You need to decide whose side you're on. Repeat that with me. You can't sit on the fence any longer. Another one. The manager was sitting on the fence, refusing to support either of the competing proposals. Say that one now. Next is the ball is in your court. This means it is now someone else's turn to make a decision or take the next step. For instance, I've given you my final offer. Now the ball is in your court. Repeat that phrase. Now the ball is in your court. Another example. We've done everything we can to help. The ball is in his court now to decide what to do. Try that one. Here's an idiom for making peace. Bury the hatchet. This means to end a conflict and become friendly with someone again. For example, after years of not speaking, the two brothers finally decided to bury the hatchet. Say that with me. They decided to bury the hatchet. Another one. Can't we just bury the hatchet and be friends again? Repeat that question now. What if you add to a problem? You add fuel to the fire. This means to do or say something that makes a bad situation or a conflict even worse. For example, he was already angry, and your sarcastic comment just added fuel to the fire. Repeat that sentence. Your comment just added fuel to the fire. Another one. Showing up late to the meeting only added fuel to the fire of the manager's frustration. Try that one now. Finally, agree to disagree. This is a phrase used to resolve a conflict by accepting that you have different opinions and will not reach an agreement. For example, we are never going to agree on this topic, so let's just agree to disagree. Repeat that with me. Let's just agree to disagree. Another one. After a long debate about politics, my friend and I decided to agree to disagree and talk about something else. Say that one now. Let's practice these with a story about a workplace disagreement. Listen, my colleagues, Tim and Anna, were arguing about the project's direction. I decided to sit on the fence because I saw merit in both their ideas. Their manager told them, "I've heard both your arguments. To avoid adding fuel to the fire, I suggest you two discuss it calmly. I have given you the authority to choose, so the ball is in your court." Eventually, they couldn't convince each other, so they decided to agree to disagree and find a compromise. I'm glad they were able to bury the hatchet. Now, repeat that story slowly. Then think of a time you witnessed or were part of a disagreement. Our final category uses imagery from weather and nature to describe situations and feelings. These are very poetic and common. Let's start with the calm before the storm. This refers to a quiet, peaceful period just before a time of great activity, chaos, or difficulty. For example, the office is very quiet this morning, but it's just the calm before the storm. The big conference starts tomorrow. Repeat that with me. It's just the calm before the storm. Another one. She was enjoying the calm before the storm of the children arriving home from school. Say that one now. Next, every cloud has a silver lining. This is a proverb that means that there is something good or hopeful in every bad situation. For example, I was disappointed I lost the match, but every cloud has a silver lining. Now I have more time to focus on my studies. Repeat that optimistic phrase. Every cloud has a silver lining. Another one. He lost his job, but the silver lining was that he could start his own business. Try that one. Here's a very common one. Raining cats and dogs. This is a fun, informal way to say that it is raining very heavily. For instance, I wanted to go for a walk, but it's raining cats and dogs outside. Repeat that with me. It's raining cats and dogs. Another one. Don't forget your umbrella. The forecast says it will be raining cats and dogs this afternoon. Say that one now. Let's learn a walk in the park. This is another way to say something is very easy to do, similar to a piece of cake. For example, after months of training, running the 5K race was a walk in the park for her. Repeat that sentence. The race was a walk in the park. Another one. He expected the exam to be difficult, but it was a walk in the park. Try that one now. Our final idiom is a storm in a teacup. This refers to a lot of anger or worry about something that is not important. The American English equivalent is a tempest in a teapot. For example, their argument about which movie to watch was just a storm in a teacup. Repeat that with me. It was just a storm in a teacup. Another one. The media created a storm in a teacup over the politician's minor comment. Say that one now. Let's do our final speak-in practice. Listen to this story. Yesterday morning was so quiet. It was the calm before the storm of a big family visit. Then in the afternoon, it started raining cats and dogs, so we couldn't go outside. My cousins started arguing over a board game, but it was really just a storm in a teacup. My aunt was upset that the rain ruined her plans, but I told her that every cloud has a silver lining because now we could all bake a cake together. For my little cousin, who loves baking, helping us was a walk in the park. Now, repeat that story slowly with me. Then, create your own story about a recent day or event. We have had such an incredible journey together today. You have learned and practiced 60 essential English idioms, covering everything from quick daily phrases and social interactions to personal feelings, success, money, and time. We've explored idioms with body parts, animals, and nature, and you have practiced weaving them into stories. Remember, learning idioms is like learning a new dance. At first, it feels awkward, but the more you practice the steps, the more natural and fluid you become. My best advice to you is to start small. Choose just 1 or 2 idioms from today's lesson that you really liked. Try to use them in a conversation this week or write them down in a sentence. The more you actively use them, the more they will become a permanent part of your vocabulary. Start listening for them in movies, TV shows, and songs. You will be amazed at how often you hear them now that you know what to look for. Thank you so much for your focus and dedication throughout this long lesson. Your commitment to learning is truly inspiring. If you found this session valuable, please make sure to subscribe to English in Moments so you never miss another lesson. Your support is what allows me to keep creating this content for you. Don't forget to give this video a like and share it with other English learners who could benefit from it. Keep practicing, stay curious, and remember that every small step you take is a step towards fluency. Thank you once again for joining me. I'm Elena, and I can't wait to see you in our next lesson.